After weeks of denial, after weeks of evidence, of intelligence from around the world, French, American, even Chinese, pointing out that there were indeed losses in Operation Sindoor. As India swore no operational losses took place. Never happened. We didn't lose anything. I had commenters on the videos I did covering this telling me that nothing happened, that there was no proof. Even when there were photographs with the tail number, India admits Indian Air Force jet losses to Pakistan. Defence Attaché confirms operational setback. Speaking at a closed-door regional seminar titled Analysis of the Pakistan-India Air Battle and Indonesia's Anticipatory Strategies for the Perspective of Air Power. June 10th, Captain Kumar laid bare an uncomfortable truth that had until now been shrouded in official ambiguity. In his precise words, the veteran officer conceded, "I may not agree that we lost so many aircraft, but I do agree we did lose some aircraft." This is the Indian Defence Attaché to Indonesia. This is as official as it gets, short of their defense minister coming out and listing this stuff. However, slides presented during the seminar indicated that the Air Force lost 3 Rafale jet fighters, 1 Su-MKI, and 1 MiG-29. It's worth pointing out that is exactly what Pakistan said was lost. Exactly what they said was lost. His statements made during a 35-minute presentation to Indonesian defense academics and Air Force officers confirmed what regional observers had suspected, that the IAF paid a real price during its risky cross-border strike targeting Pakistan's terror-linked infrastructure. The May 7th operation was part of a broader Indian response to mounting intelligence on militant networks across the line of contact. But few outside the classified circles knew how costly the opening salvos were. According to Captain Kumar, the IAF losses were not a result of technical inferiority or pilot incompetence, but stemmed directly from political constraints imposed by India's civilian leadership. And that is completely believable. I have no doubt, and they do go a little bit into this on, it was designed to send also a political message to Pakistan in order to avoid a nuclear war, which you can understand to an extent until it endangers the lives of your pilots, which is exactly what appears to have happened. Literally, their rules of engagement seems to be exactly what hindered them, which is telling, which is also why Dassault has been all over the Indians trying to get information on what happened to these Rafale fighters. And it might also explain their willingness to give such just an ambiguous statement about they don't really know. Well, of course you don't really know because you're not being told. However, we are going to find out in this article that places have been told. As we get a little more into this here, this is an image of his slide. After the loss, we changed our tactics. and went for the military installations, Kumar explained to his Indonesian audience. So we first achieved suppression of enemy air defenses, and that's why all our attacks could easily go through using BrahMos missiles. The mention of the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile is telling. But what's more telling here is this slide presented by Captain Kumar, that these are the losses. And it does point out the percentages are so low of overall losses, and that their change in tactics, they claim, to have been highly effective, which probably was. Capable of being launched from multiple platforms, the Indo-Russian BrahMos has a strike range of up to 400 kilometers and flies at nearly Mach 3. It remains a crown jewel in India's precision strike arsenal and was deployed extensively in follow-up strikes on Pakistani air bases and logistical hubs on May 10th. And as we scroll down, we see the actual flyer, the presentation flyer of who's speaking. And this is quite the lineup. We have Vice Air Marshal, Air Chief Marshal. We've got a lot of people who know here. And also, interestingly, I found this to be very interesting because everybody knew. Everybody knew. And here they're going to tell you that everybody knew. And they're going to give a list of places here. I think you can include another 2 or 3. Indian analysis fear that any PAF lessons learned in May aerial duels could directly feed into Chinese tactical playbooks along the contested line of actual contact. Equally worrying for New Delhi is the regional echo effect. Observers in Tokyo, Taipei, and Manila have reportedly been briefed by Indian officials on the combat data, recognizing parallels with scenarios in the East and South China Seas where potential restraints could similarly hamper early air dominance. Meanwhile, India's domestic disclosure has turned inwards, with military strategists urging that future doctrines prioritize political and military synergy to avoid operational fiascos in crisis situations. And I think that goes without saying, because clearly the rules of engagement cost them aircraft. But that's that point right there. Observers in Tokyo, Taipei, and Manila have also reportedly been briefed by Indian officials on the combat data. I think you can assume that officials in Washington have as well. And probably Paris. To the extent now that you have Dassault coming out and being very ambiguous about what happened to the Rafales. They're out there saying that they're basically out there saying nothing happened. Nothing to see here. Chinese fire drill. But I found it interesting that we finally, after it's almost 2 months now, we have the Indian Air Force finally admitting that there were losses. And how those losses happened is a subject that's going to be studied for years and years to come. Doctrine clearly played a role, but so did technology. The fighter missile AWACS team clearly showed its potential in long range, beyond visual range, air-to-air combat with the PL-15 and the J-10 and their AWACS Working as a team. J-10 fired. The AWACS controlled via secure data link the missile inbound to target. The J-10s never had to appear on radar. Regardless of doctrine, this showed its validity in modern combat. Now the doctrine has to evolve, and it will. If you liked the video, hope you hit like, subscribe, share with a friend, let him know that India is finally admitting to losses, which is good, because only from the recognition can you change. Only from the recognition of the mistake can you then become correct. India thinks it's doctrine. I think they're partially correct. I also think it's the innovation. This is the future of combat. I appreciate you. Thank you.